So the channel news is, as always, Sports Talk Indy, but we're going to start renaming the episode on Wednesday as being the Good News, Bad News show, where we bring you the good news, which is almost always followed by some bad news. And some of this news is surprising and some of it not. So we'll get into the nuances and the vagueness of it all coming up in this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the clear bad news that came out yesterday, Tuesday, first day of the new week, and that is that DeForest Buckner will be headed to the injured reserve, which means he will be out for at least the next 4 games with something. He has a high ankle sprain. Now, that's obviously not good, especially since DeForest Buckner was and is a key part of this Colts defense, which is hanging on by a thread. A majority of all defenders that have been on or a majority of all people who on the injury report have been Colts defenders, and this is coming off of what we thought could have been way worse. Initially, when watching that, it could have been something truly terrible. We were looking at possibly Achilles, possible knee injury. It could have been his back again. Could have been all sorts of things. So high ankle sprain, although that is terrible, does seem to be one of the better of the options. And it does look like he is projected right now to come back earlier than Josh Downs, only because of the there's not as much lateral movement as far as defensive tackles go. So that one's out of the way, right? So what is the good news? Well, the good news is that Josh Downs, who was a full participant on Friday, is slated to make his first start this season. Now, Josh Downs caught 68 passes last year for 766 yards and 2 touchdowns as a rookie. And I think that his impact in the slot cannot be overstated, and I think that was a key position that was missing this weekend. And not only that, but he has the ability to bring in some of Anthony Richardson's hardest throws, and that we saw that this weekend, that there were just some clear drops where it seems like guys either aren't prepared for the throw or maybe it's coming in faster than they realize. But one guy is Josh Downs did a fantastic job on that when he and Anthony Richardson were on the field at the same time. So that's great news. It definitely seems as though Alec Pierce is the deep man. He's the X-wide receiver. He is the go. He is the guy who's going to be deep on a majority of plays. Adonai Mitchell still figuring out what's going on with him. He's really having a hard time bringing in the pass. He and Richardson don't seem to be on the same play or on the same page, rather. But I do think that is some good news. Now, here's potentially some good news. Maybe it's just for me. Maybe it's not. But coming out of the injury report today was kind of a surprise, and yet one that I'm not really that upset about. And that's Matt Gay is now out with a quad injury. So he was out with a sports hernia, had surgery just 4 weeks ago, missed the first game. Spencer Schrader came in, did a really good job. And then Matt Gay came in, missed what should have been, let's talk about today's NFL for a second. Today's NFL, you cannot be missing 51-yard field goals, especially no wind and really no movement or anything like that. And Matt Gay missed it. Obviously, was frustrated with himself. But this is, if it was just one miss, it'd be one thing. But this is following 3 misses in the preseason, and then obviously in his game back, he was 1 for 2. So things are not trending well for Matt Gay, especially being one of the NFL's highest-paid kickers. And then you've got Spencer Schrader on the sideline, or on the practice squad rather, who looks good. And so expect to see potentially that shift and that maybe that switch over. But some more good news. Leatu Latu did not practice today or yesterday, but is slated to not be miss any time. It's some sort of hip injury, but it does seem like he is going to still be good to play on Sunday. We're still looking for Leatu Latu's first sack, and he's been there. He's got some good pressure. We're just waiting to see that develop into something more. It's not really fair for him because he came into the league and immediately is getting all of the hype, and so that means that he is getting to these double teams and some of these higher profile guys. And obviously we saw the effect of that in week 1, where he did a really, really good job against Laremy Tunsil. And Laremy Tunsil had 3 penalties in that game, all of which seemed to be in anticipation of having to block this young stud in Leatu Latu. But some more good news. Julian Blackmon, who missed last week, his presence was well missed. last week. He was out with a shoulder injury, the same shoulder that he missed, but he was a full participant in today's practice. So expect to see him back on the field on Sunday against the NFL's leading tackler, Nick Cross. If you had told me that, at the beginning of the season that Nick Cross was going to be the NFL leading tackler, I would have laughed in your face, especially because we didn't even know that Nick Cross was going to be on the roster. And so now to see him be the NFL's leading tackler, obviously that's not a great thing, because it does mean that guys are getting past the first and second line of defense. But we'll take what we can get. Hopefully Zaire Franklin really figures out. He is currently the lowest rated defender in the run right now, which is crazy considering the fact that Zaire Franklin has had a successful career thus far in making what should be consistent tackles. He led the league in tackles last year and was in, I think, top 10 in the year before. So really, really surprising, to say the least, about where we are at as a defense. But Nick Cross and Julian Blackmon, that dynamic duo, will be back on the field on Sunday. Kenny Moore, who was listed on the injury report, I did not notice this on Sunday. Maybe I was just blind to it. Maybe I was just focused on so many other things. But Kenny Moore is a full participant with a thumb injury, and then Rodney Thomas as well, a full participant. So to recap, Matt Gay did not practice. He has a quad injury. Leatu Latu did not practice, but is not expected to miss any time. DeForest Buckner landed on the IL injured list. No, IR, injured reserve. That's what it is. IR. And then Julian Blackmon, Josh Downs, Kenny Moore, and Rodney Thomas were all full participants in today's practice. This is kind of sort of a revenge game, because this is Matt Eberflus, longtime Colts defensive coordinator, who honestly I was sad to see go, is the coach of the Bears, and he's on the hot seat. And so definitely some interesting dynamics there. Obviously, Caleb Williams is looking, but this is another interesting thing that we'll cover more in the next video, which will air in just shortly. So we're going to do a kind of a double post. But the Colts defense, run defense, is worst in the league right now, but the Bears run offense is I think 29th in the league as far as like what they're able to do on the run. So this might be a game for both the Colts and the Bears to really kind of treat as a joint practice, as a get back game, as a what is going to happen sort of thing, trying to figure out some lighter defense and some lighter offense as far as like what they're able to do. We'll cover that more in the next video, but for now, the good news, bad news show, DeForest Buckner obviously out, and that adds to three now Colts defenders who all were like potentially Pro Bowl level defenders: Juju Brents, Samson Ebukam, and now DeForest Buckner, all missing extended time. And so it's going to fall on the shoulders of Roquan Davis, Grover Stewart, and Tavon Bryan. And I know that's a hot topic for a lot of people, but we shall see what the next week holds. But for today, following Wednesday's practice, that's your injury report for this week, and we will see you on the next one.